Welcome to AnimeThoughts, where we're going to be talking about seasons 1 and 2 of One Punch Man. When I first heard about One Punch Man, I thought, how could they make 12 episodes of a guy punching someone once and then actually entertain people? If it wasn't for how popular One Punch Man got, I probably would have never watched it. That would have been a huge mistake on my part because One Punch Man was actually a great anime, and I'd recommend it to anyone. Although he does defeat everyone in one punch, it seems like all the fights have tons of action that leads up to it. I was seriously impressed on how well they made this anime. They did a really good job building up Saitama's strength throughout the season. I personally underestimated Saitama's power when Lord Beerus, the strongest life form in the universe, appeared. The fight was super colorful, very amazing, and overall it was extremely interesting to watch the fight. I just couldn't believe how well they did on all these fights when Saitama would defeat the opponent in one punch. Let's talk about season 1 first. I'd like to mention a couple characters that made an impression on me. The first one I'd like to bring up is Sonic. Sonic was my favorite character. The reason why he was my favorite character is because I liked the way he looked and I liked his personality. It was very unique. I also like how he's kind of underrated, just like Saitama. Now he's obviously not even close to being as strong as Saitama, but it seems like a lot of people think he's not that strong. What's funny is the S-Class hero Genos couldn't even beat the Sea King. It seemed like Sonic was too fast for the Sea King. And the only reason why Sonic didn't fight the Sea King was because he didn't have any of his weapons, which he promptly said that he'd be back once he got his weapons. I'd also like to point out that I don't really get a bad vibe when I see him. I get more of a good guy vibe. And the last thing I'd like to point out is this choker around his neck. I don't know why, but I thought that looked so cool on him. The next person I'd like to bring up is Amai Mass. Now, he kind of confuses me. He seems evil. He seems really evil. He's a number 1 A-class hero. It just seems like his theory on justice is a little twisted for my taste. Moomin Rider is next on my list. The reason why he made my list is because he's just so darn useless. I don't get why he was even created in this world. Now his mind, on the other hand, is definitely hero class material, but he just doesn't have any power to back it up, and I couldn't help but feel a little bored when I saw him. And the last person I'd like to bring up is Genos, just because he's the disciple of Saitama. You see, Genos, he's got a really cool personality, and he's got the power to back it up. It just seems like he keeps on making mistakes throughout this series. The next thing I want to talk about is the classes and the threat levels. I really liked how they had different levels of threats. Like, say, God was the one that would annihilate all humanity, and the smallest being Tiger. Also like how they had hero classes like Class C, Class B, Class A, and Class S. The reason why I like this so much, both of them, is because it really allowed you to gauge Saitama's strength. That not even a god threat could affect him, and not even S-Class heroes could defeat him. I know this isn't the only anime that's ever done it, but I thought it was really crucial that they had that, so you could really tell how strong Saitama really is. The last thing I want to talk about is the things that I didn't like about One Punch Man. Now these things that I'm about to bring up are very minor, and they don't really affect the story that much. It just bothered me a little bit. Now the first thing that bothered me was that some of the bosses were kinda stupid or dumb. Now all the main bosses were really cool, but some of the bosses that weren't the head honchos were really dumb. Like one of them, the Crabman, it just made me feel awkward. He ate too many crabs and that's how he became the Crabman. And then it doesn't really explain why he's only wearing underwear and why his junk is bulging out so much. I get why they did it. They wanted it to be funny, but I couldn't help but just feel awkward. Now the second thing that bothered me was the amount of destruction that was going on. There was large amounts of each city being destroyed by one attack. And it happened in various occasions throughout One Punch Man. And I didn't think that One Punch Man 1 through 12 episodes, I didn't think that much time passed through each episode. So I'm not quite sure how they were able to restore the cities as fast as it seemed like they were doing. I don't know if they were just pointing the camera in a different direction every episode and then they were just hiding the destruction, but I must be missing something. And if I am, please tell me in the comments below. I'd love to know what your thoughts or what actually happened. Maybe I missed something. Just please comment. And the last thing, I guess I didn't really dislike it, or it's not something that you should hate the anime for, but I felt like a lot of the heroes just had really outrageous abilities. Like I can't remember their names, and one of them was that slingshot to where he would shoot a slingshot and he'd shape the metal with his mind. I just thought that was kind of stupid in my opinion. As well as the guy that was next to him, I think he made one of the cloths out of his suit into a sword. The heroes also had really weird names for their attacks. Like the guy with the mustache that could turn the cloth into the sword. When he attacked with his final move, he called it Tomboy Thrust. I still don't get what they were trying to say with that attack, and honestly I don't want to know. I just felt kind of awkward with that as well. Now those were just some of the things that bothered me, but it wasn't to the point to where it would have ruined my experience with the anime. Let's talk about Season 2. There's a couple people that appeared in Season 1 that didn't really get a lot of screen time, and I believe that they're going to show up in Season 2. Now the first one on my list is from Episode 4. It was two unknown people, and they showed up after Hammerhead got beat up by One Piece, and he was, I believe, nude in the forest. I believe they may have hired Hammerhead to steal the suits or make a scene. I'm curious to know whether their organization or maybe those two figures are going to appear in Season 2. Now the next person I believe might be a villain or is going to have a lot of screen time in Season 2 will be a My Mask. It just seems like he's got a really twisted version of justice, and I feel like that twisted version is going to end up making him do a couple things that's going to cause him to do heinous crimes or maybe kill some people that weren't actually villains. I think Saitama might have to jump in and stop a My Mask from whatever he's doing. I think another person that's going to make an appearance as a villain will be Metal Knight. I believe probably the association is going to figure out a couple of questionable motives that he has, and he might have to go to another association or some villainous group to conduct what he's trying to accomplish. See, I think Metal Knight may have been the quote-unquote cyborg that killed Genesis' family. So I'm curious to know how that's going to develop. Now the last person on my list is Garo, Bang's strongest apprentice. I believe he might be stronger than we're actually thinking. And I think One Punch Man is going to have to fight him in one of the episodes in Season 2. Some of the things I want to see in Season 2 would be stronger opponents, stronger than Lord Boris. I know that sounds crazy, but I just want to see how strong Saitama is. I want to see him push to the limits, and I hope they do that in Season 2. Now the next thing I'd like to see are moments like the one that was in the episode of the Sea King, where One Punch Man was finally fed up with the Sea King talking, and he just one punches him. What was so cool about it was that he punched him so hard that the rain stopped pouring down. I thought that was really cool and creative, and I want to see more of that creativity in Season 2. Another thing I'd like to see is Saitama's serious face, because as of right now, he just kind of looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, just a blank stare. I thought it was really interesting how he would have that crazy looking face when he gets serious. I want to see more of that. I thought it was very, very cool. I'm also looking to see how well they balanced the action and comedy in Season 2. They did a really good job in Season 1, and I have high expectations in that department. A side note that I'd like to point out is the glow in Saitama's eyes in Episode 1 and 2. In Episode 1, I thought that he was just getting super pumped up, super excited, and motivated to become this hero. But the same glow in his eyes were in episode 2 when that was not the case. I'm kinda curious to know if that glow in his eyes has something to do with his power. Now that wasn't the only time I saw that glow around him, the same color, the same hue. Another time when that glow showed up was when Lord Boros saw Saitama for the first time. It shows this orange hue type glow around Saitama. And it's the same glow that his eyes had in episode 1 and 2. I'm kinda curious to know whether or not if that's a thing or if I'm just overthinking it. Overall, I have high expectations on season 2, and I'm curious to know whether they're gonna meet them or not.